Hey y'all, this is Dakota with Holman's Outdoor Solutions here, doing a little video this evening after work in the shop. Thought I'd bring up a topic. It's probably been discussed already on YouTube, but it's another forestry mulching related video. So this one's going to be about disc mulchers versus drum mulchers in the mulching industry. So I don't have any experience personally with a disc mulcher. I've been around them, but I do have experience using 3 different drum mulchers on my 2 on my own personal machine and 1 on a machine at my employer. So I think that the disc mulcher is an awesome mulcher. I would highly suggest running it on a high horsepower unit with good PSI flow, or PSI I should say, over 4,000 PSI to run a disc mulcher. If you're running a cat, make sure it's got like XPS. Other machines that aren't pushing over 4,000 PSI on the hydraulic auxiliary system, it's not going to have as much torque to spin that really heavy disc up, so there's going to be a lot of lag time. Now Diamond just come out with a belt driven it's green and black color disc mulcher. That thing is awesome, and it spools up a lot faster than other brands I've seen, including Diamond's yellow color old disc mulcher. So if you're in the market for a disc mulcher, I'd really look at that black and green colored belt driven one from Diamond. So I think the disc mulchers should definitely be run on as high as horsepower and high as PSI pushing skid steer that you can get. I think it'd be a great combo with a Lamb Track, their biggest and most powerful skid steer. I think it'd be great on one of those. I don't think you should be running one on a 259 machine, and if it's standard flow, I think you're silly if you're trying to run one of those on a standard flow machine. Even if the disc mulcher is for standard flow hydraulics, your production will be doo-doo, because that thing is not going to have a lot of torque. Disc mulchers require torque and flow, and you just aren't going to get that from a low horsepower, 74 horse. Yeah, I mean, you can do it, but you're going to be kicking yourself for running that thing on that kind of skid steer. Just being blunt about it, I've seen plenty of videos of them being run on a standard flow skid steer, and the production is pretty bad. Yeah, them things get jammed up with big chunks of wood in between the shroud of the mulcher body and the disc, and then you gotta rake the disc across a tree or a stump to unjam it. That's a lot of lost time. But heck, if you got a standard flow skid steer and you want a disc mulcher and you're just doing the work, not worried about production, sure, knock yourself out, go get one. I think they're more productive than a drum mulcher. They can suck the material in and instantly obliterate it. With a drum mulcher, yeah, you can do that, but it's not as productive as if you was say if you was running through a thin stand of volunteer pine. Same skid steer, one's a drum mulcher, one's a disc mulcher. You're gonna make a lot more production getting mulch on the ground with that disc mulcher. It's gonna suck it in, spit it out as mulch. The drum mulcher, yeah, you'll knock it down, but then you're gonna have to back drag it a few times to get it into nice mulch. People that have used mulchers know what I'm talking about. So they are more productive in wide open areas where there's nothing to be damaged because them things shoot a huge amount of debris out the front of them. They're dangerous, and I would not dare use them around house, cars, fences, anything. I mean, those things can kill you with the stuff flying out front of a disc mulcher. I mean, you can shoot stuff 100 foot up into the air like it's nothing with one of those things. They're really big out west, out Midwest, mulching thousands of acres out in a gigantic ranch or field or something. There's nothing to hurt out there. They work great for that setting, especially like mulching cedars out there. Those things obliterate those cedars like nothing. So they do have a place. Their finish they put out is not as fine as a drum mulcher. If you back drag it a couple of times, yeah, it'll look great. So that's pretty much my rundown of those. Now the drum mulcher, you can get away with running those on a lower flow setup, especially if you're running planer knife teeth on the mulcher. Planer knife teeth allow you to run the mulcher on a lower horsepower, lower gallons per minute machine and get away with it. If you're running carbides, you need to run those on a higher horsepower unit to be productive. But if you're running a drum mulcher, you will get a finer finish without as much work versus the disc mulcher. Productively, like I said before, if you're running through a stand of volunteer pine, you're gonna have to bat drag it a couple more times to get mulch on the ground. And I think drum mulcher is a lot more safer around residential stuff like houses, fences, streets. If you can get one with a fold down door on the front of it, I know FAE sells them like that. Cat, which is FAE, or FAE's cat. The door is an excellent option. I've used 2 cat heads, and I love the door on a drum mulcher. It lets you put out a finer finish. When you back drag, it sucks it up in there and keeps it inside the mulcher longer, and it chews it up a lot finer. And even with carbide teeth, that works excellent. So with the drum mulcher is safer. It's not as productive as the disc mulcher, but it is still productive. If you're running carbides, I'd suggest running those. You can run them on a low horsepower machine, but you won't be as productive. I would run planer knife teeth. That's what I like to use. Gyrotrack has great groovy teeth. They self-sharpen, and they are awesome. The last set I bought for mine, when I had it, there was $800 shipped to my house, which is pretty darn good. A lot of other brands are double that price shipped to the house, and they don't self-sharpen like those Gyrotrack groovy teeth do. So the drum mulcher has its place. The disc mulcher has its place. A lot of people go for the drum mulcher, and some places just are not suited for the disc mulcher. More places than not are not suited for the disc mulcher because it is a lot more dangerous, and it is a little more work to get a finer mulch than the drum mulcher, and it requires a lot more higher horsepower unit to run it effectively. So I hope this video helps people wondering about the 2 different styles of mulchers. And another thing, the drum mulcher has a lot more teeth options versus the disc mulcher, which those usually just have beaver teeth. You can flip them like 3 times and then they're done. As far as I know, they just come with beaver teeth. The drum mulchers, you can get carbides, you can get planer teeth, My daughter's down here. And yeah, there's more options for those. The disc mulcher is going to be cheaper to operate because it's a lot less parts to build a disc mulcher. And disc mulchers are a lot cheaper than drum mulchers. You might as well say give or take half the price, depending on what brand you go with, than a drum mulcher. That's another thing to consider. If in a perfect world you got two machines and you got enough business, heck, I'd get a disc mulcher and I'd get a drum mulcher. So there's a lot to consider when buying a mulcher. Hey now, don't be clicking on that. So I hope this video helped y'all out. I'm sure there's some other stuff I'm missing, but that's the main gist of it. Y'all have a good one. Catch you on the next one.